Hello. Yay, my mic works.
Howdy. And my mic works. It's just not my voice that sometimes doesn't work.
Hello, party people. How's your Tuesday?
Good so far.
Good. Let's keep it up.
Who's chatting?
I think we've each got a chair and nobody chairs. It's just chaos.
I was going to say anarchy.
It's how we roll.
I can do it if we, I mean, there's basically one agenda item. Do you want to talk about proposal F?
That's what we're here for.
We're all here for Chris.
No, this is Sylvain's proposal, but I will happily help him talk you through it.
Look at him already passing the blame just like that.
No, it's just I'm a manager. I have so many other things to do. I have to rely on good engineers like Sylvain to actually help me. I'm good at talking. I'm not good at finding time to write something down.
Okay, how do you want to proceed? Should I share my screen and run through the document?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay, can you see my screen?
Mhm.
Okay, so the idea of this proposal F is to take things that were already proposed from proposal C and D, and use the OCI index and the nested OCI index feature allowed by the OCI image spec. Use everything, and so we can propose something for reference type without any API modification. So that was the main goal of this proposal. So for that, the idea is to add some predefined annotation, some new ones for reference. One is for digest, to expose the digest, the other one to expose the type, and the last one, a human readable description. That's for when you add artifacts like a software bill of material to an OCI index. The idea is to the digest points to the OCI manifest that is referenced. So we really should have a descriptor pointing to that that manifest inside this index and this reference. Otherwise, we would have a kind of weak reference, and we won't. It doesn't prevent the registry from collecting this manifest. Please stop me if I'm going into details. Okay.
This seems fun.
Okay, so that's the first add. So there's already a predefined annotation. So we just append those three annotations to this list. And the idea was to also add a new section to the image spec, which is well-known annotations. So that would be, so at first I did some cosine example. The idea of this proposal wasn't to propose a list of those annotations, but just the section. So I'll remove them and added just a placeholder there.
I think it is good. I think it is good to call out that things like signatures or smaller objects should can go at the top level. That's kind of where we came. Like signing is a good example of this because that's something we think is a good candidate for this.
Yeah. So the idea is to add plain data into this annotation value, like small data, of course, for this. So here, for example, we have an OCI index pointing to as a manifest pointing to an image, and we add annotations like, okay, favorite ice cream, it could be a signature. So yeah, that's the two main points here on this proposal. And then I define two scenarios. The first one is, okay, we already have an image pushed and that is widely used. So we don't want to change the tag. We don't want to change the digest pointed by this tag because it's already consumed. So the idea is that we create a new tag and we push another OCI index, and there we use the OCI index, a nested index. So on this one, so in this example, we have the original image that has been pushed, and we push this new OCI index. So here we reference the former OCI index, so that's the nested one, and then we recompile this OCI index into the new one, just for fallback for runtimes, because we are not sure that all runtimes will be able to handle that. I mean, nested OCI index. So they will fall back on the first platform they will match. So that should work. And then we open also annotations here for like this one is a cosine. And then we add new artifacts like a software bill of material for the ARM64 and for the AMD64 version. Yes, Jason?
So this, when I add my signature to this index, I am expected to retag that index containing the original image layer, or sorry, the original image references and my new SBOM signatures, whatever. I'm expected to tag that as Alpine, or I tag that as my original image thing, or do I only tag this as with the digest tag that you showed?
With the digest tag. We don't, yes, we don't touch the original one. I mean, that's the choice of the image producer.
I guess if I have permission to push Alpine, if I'm the originator of Alpine, I can include those in that index. If I'm not, and I'm probably not, then I'm supposed to tag it with the digest tag. Yes. I wonder, so one of the digest tag hack, I'll call it a hack because I was involved in coming up with it. The terrible hack that is the digest tag. One of the reasons we wanted to do something in this working group was to get rid of those tags, right? Because they clog the UI, they clog the tag list endpoint, and we're still not getting rid of it, right? Even in this mode.
Yeah,
I'm probably going to list through a bunch of tags that have a bunch of digest crap sitting there. Is that just fine? Like, or like it maybe as a throughout the course of this working group, we have decided that maybe the digest tag is the best we can come up with, and if that's the end result of this, I'm fine with that. I just like to make it.
In this proposal, at least you have only one, because this one will reference all the artifacts and.
Right. I wouldn't have a digest tag .sig and a digest tag .sbom and a digest tag whatever. Okay. Yeah. I'd have one that includes all of the different attachment types, and from there go through. Okay. I have more questions, but I'll lower my hand so that we can get to the rest of you.
Yeah.
Just as a comment about the same thing, like this depends on how you're using this thing, right? Like, what's your use cases? like for example, like if we build an image, for example, like Alpine latest, and it's already signed, and we don't care about the old, like the old unsigned image, then the latest tag will point to the first, like the index that is already signed, and there's no need for this tag at all, like, or like this, like an optional, like this tag is for the use case, like people in here, some people had the use case that they want to know what signatures point to the unsigned image, and if they have this use case, then they will use this tag for that use case. But it's like if they don't have this use case, then they will just use the image directly, and like for lots of use cases, you don't need the tag at all.
So I guess we're splitting a use case into like the image originator. I build Alpine. I am responsible for producing Alpine and sending it out to the world, and I can attach my signatures to that and call that thing the image references and signatures and SBOMs as Alpine latest. When Brandon ingests that image, he may he may add a signature to that index and call it Alpine latest within his repo. Like within, I have ingested it into my org, and we should still call it Alpine latest. It comes with a signature to it. Show you that that's good. But that digest will not match the Alpine latest from Docker Hub or from upstream, wherever that is. The only way to tell if they're the same is to compare the manifests and see if they contain all the same things plus whatever I added, right? This isn't a question or a problem. I'm just trying to understand, like, how would I verify that Alpine latest that I have is the same Alpine latest that Docker Hub has or upstream in general?
Yeah, correct. Like if you add the signature, then the outer, like the signed manifest changes. If you want to have a way to like find the signed manifest from the unsigned one, for example, like find the one that was the original one and find the one that now has two signatures as well, then you would use the tag by the like points from the unsigned manifest to the signed one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to go into each one of these indexes though and dissect things and find out, is my index of the index, is that first index entry the one that's upstream, or did it change? And so there's an extra process there. I'm going to throw a curveball at you though. And it's one that I'm just kind of come up with looking at it right now and just thinking at it for a third time, which is take like the ARM64 image that we're looking at, and we're adding a flavor ice cream to it. We're defining a bunch of extensions to that image within this index to say that this banana thing, it's got that. It's also got some other SBOMs and other stuff, and we're putting that all in this index. But that same ARM64 image could exist in lots of indexes. It doesn't have to be in just one index. And so how do we keep track of which index we need to update, or do we have to go around and update all those indexes where this possibly exists?
That's an external coordination problem, right? Like, I don't think that's tied to this.
Is it?
What's the scope of all, I guess, would be my question. You say is it within one repo, or?
Twist it around, say I want to sign the ARM64 image. Where do I do that?
You create a manifest with the agreed upon format. So my repo /digest or whatever is the tag, and you push up an OCI index that points to either that manifest or that manifest list.
You create the new image and then you call it like, this is my ARM64 image or whatever, like however you like define this image. Like what you're almost describing is like how do I do like a batch signature or something like this? That's like let's say like my object is in multiple places, but like now I want to change all those objects together or something like that.
Yeah, but then if I have an index that says, okay, here's the version 7.5 of my application, and ARM hadn't changed since 7.4. If I go pull the 7.5 index and I see all that stuff in there, I still have to go back and say, not only did I look at that index, all the data in there, but now I need to go back and query for that special index for just that one platform now, right?
Yeah, like if you have images that have different versions, then and if they're like separate image indexes behind those different version tags, then yeah, you need to sign them both. Like if you sign like version something, then it doesn't change the signature of the other one if it's a different image index.
So just say that the ARM64 image would only be signed in 7.5 and wouldn't be signed in 7.4.
I'm saying that like if those are two tags with different versions, and if they point to different image indexes, then yeah, like both of those image indexes have a different signature. Like the difference in here isn't like what's inside it, or is it like an ARM64 thing, or whatever is inside it. It's that if the tags point to different objects, then those different objects also have different signatures. If the tags point to the same object, then they of course share the signature.
All right, I won't harp on it too long, but that's something that's concerning to me. If anyone else has concerns on that, feel free to jump in.
Brandon, I think I might not be understanding your question. How would you solve this in any of the other proposals we've talked about?
I think the other proposals would say you're going to sign just the ARM64 image itself, and they're not associating it with the parent index that the ARM64 image is within. And so you'll go query and say, give me all the signatures for that ARM64 image.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean,
Pull them all
it's
back.
like a little bit similar to that on like the distroless Debian example, right? Like in the old, like the cosign way of doing it, you're always like adding signatures to the same digest, and they all just like leave outside the actual definition of what the specific version of Debian was. Like you can't really see like what is the signature that was associated with this Debian image. You can only see that like this Debian image was built like 30 times and there's 30 signatures now. And that's how it's kind of like all the signatures carry over to all the other images. So there's like one way to look at it is, yeah, like this patch signature is kind of like neat because it like automatically picks up all the signatures from all the images, while in practice it's also like it creates a lot of noise as well, because you're seeing lots of like unrelated signatures, while like in this model, like you're specifically signing the specific tags or specific like actual like image instances. It isn't that like if you sign one of those images and it references one of the, or like the inside the image index, there's inside two image index, there's the same digest. It doesn't mean that now this digest has like two signatures.
Nisha, did you have a question?
I did. I had asked this in the in the pull request, but since we're talking about nested indices, I actually have not seen any client that asks for an index. Like it's almost like you have to, if a client wants to find the right index, they have to list all the manifests at the top level index, and then they have to find the one that matches, I guess, the OCI index media type.
So runtimes today, when they run the query, they're going to say, I will accept a manifest list, an index, and an image, all the different media types they accept. The registry will respond back with whatever it has, and it'll tell it what the media type is. If it sees that it's an index, then the client should iterate through that index until it sees the platform that it is looking for. And then when it sees that platform, it grabs that and pulls that for the runtime to run. And that's for something executing a container image, and there are other use cases beyond that.
And right now, that is a relatively flat, iterate this list of manifests until something matches my platform. And if nothing matches my platform, then give up. And if I see a nested index, I'm not actually sure what anybody does, what Containerd does with a nested index today. Probably ignores it.
I think most of them will probably fail if they don't see their platform listed in the platform field. They'll just ignore that entry.
Yeah.
And then I might be one of the few people that, since I'm copying recursively, I'll recursively copy the chaos across from registry to registry, but then it's still not usable by runtime.
So the spec says that platform field is optional. So it means that, it's optional, and it defines the minimum requirements. So it means that when it doesn't have a platform, then it's like automatically matched, basically. That's how like the containerd supports nested indexes as well. Like the nested index itself doesn't have a platform that causes it to like go deeper.
If you don't see a platform, you're saying it should match, or if you don't see your platform, you should not match.
Should match.
I missed that. Should,
But it's should.
Okay, so now I'm going to throw the curveball at you. Does that mean the runtime is going to try to execute every one of these SBOMs?
No, but we should make it sure that it doesn't.
We have two mechanisms there. We have the media type and the platform field.
There's a media type. It also says about, it says that media type needs to be ignored if it doesn't understand it. And in your example, actually, you had the platform unknown there, right?
So I've tried to do the platform unknown. You can't change the manifest media type without making it not importable to existing registries.
Yeah.
You can change the configuration media type within the manifest, but that's not seen at this level.
Also, what happens when you have multiple nested indices? So you have a top level index.json and it only has manifests that are index.jsons. How would a client manage that?
Absolute chaos.
I mean, if an index has multiple nested indexes in it, I'm going to rephrase Nisha's question. If an index has multiple nested indexes in it, should it search breadth first or depth first? Will it do one or the other? It's not specified, whatever it is, I'm sure it's not specified. So like what will a runtime do today and what should a runtime do?
Do you want me to explain it there?
Sure. I mean, I
think it's very like loosely defined and mostly defined on like the basis of like what logically works. I can describe how it works in containerd, and we have copied the same thing into the new Docker as well. So like in the latest the beta Docker has exactly the same algorithm. So the algorithm is that you pull a manifest list, you have a list of descriptors there. Now you find out every one of those that matches your platform the description. So it means that everything that matches the platform and also like all the empty platforms, right? And for example, like in case of ARM, you can have like multiple matches. Like for example, you're pulling an ARM image and you have a descriptor for ARM v6 and ARM v7, and both of them match because like if you're in modern ARM, you can run either of them. So all of them match, and now those descriptors are sorted. So that's the fuzzy part. That's the thing that puts the ARM v7 as a higher priority than ARM v6. And the things that don't have a platform at all, those have the lowest priority. So those are in the end there. And now what the puller wants to do is it starts to cycle through those descriptors and sees is it really valid or not? And in case of if it tries a nested index, then it of course needs to pull the nested index down and see if it can find the something inside the nested index. And as soon as it finds a valid match there that says the image manifest, then it returns out. And this is this algorithm for just finding the correct image root of S. Like for example, if you're just doing pull, then you can do anything. Like for example, you can do pull and you would just have a filter on that. I want all things that I want all the objects associated with this image list, or I want all the platforms or all the images that have a matching platform or anything like that. But in the case of how do we find root of S, then we need to find one specific object. That's where the algorithm kicks in.
Yeah, I think this algorithm seems complex and brittle and ill-defined. And I think if nothing else comes out of this group, we should probably define that algorithm in a specified, rigorous way with unit tests with test cases that, with really malformed, crazy, weird nested manifests, and then,
Yeah.
prove that that's what we do.
The complex part is the sorting there, right? It's like
Yeah.
that's is like quite weird, but like in practice, it's absolutely needed because like otherwise you have those combinations where you match multiple things and you pick the wrong one. Yeah,
I'm like, this is probably already necessary today just to have sane logic and reproducible algorithm for that. But also, if we're going to make it even weirder with more platformless manifests, we're going to throw more wrenches into the gears. I have my hand up, but Michael had his hand up before and put it down, and I just wanted to make sure, Michael, if you had something you wanted to say, that you get a chance to. Otherwise, I'm happy to. I mean, yeah.
I think other people mostly covered my questions. I think I was just going to say, I think you asked that same question. A lot of these, I think a lot of the issues that we're seeing with these tags today, with race conditions, with like customers not wanting to allow tags to be moved, and just kind of as you get more and more references for an image, this like tag-based approach, the existing features we have in the registry make it really hard to allow this solution to work without making some changes to the registry. And I think that's kind of where we're hitting, is like
it would require
these prototypes.
It would require mutability on that SHA tag, you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could, you could start some of the registries who've built the ability for people to turn off tag mutability. Maybe we could also build filters on that tag mutability, but it just starts to get more and more complicated. And really, like, what I think I would like to say is like, I think these are really good ways that we've prototyped, but as we think of how we scale this and how this works for really, really big registries, I think we need additional changes, which I recognize are painful for a lot of other registries. And so I'm curious how we want to address that disagreement.
Yeah, I think that's a good point when we're talking about relying on tags. It's not just cluttering of the filter, cluttering of the tag list API response, or cluttering of the UI that shows tags, but this necessarily requires mutability on the tags, which is another wrench. Thank you.
If you want to change the images, like that.
Well, if you want to add another signature to it, you have to update the manifest. You have to update the tag that points to the manifest that contains signatures on the thing. Right. Sajid, go ahead.
Thanks for putting this together, first of all. I do want to kind of appreciate that. We've addressed one question, which is about not using the tag listing API for getting the signatures through one index. But that brings up the second question, because there is a limit on the size of the manifest. So if we are to specify that you can add multiple things as reference types, we should specify what happens to the index when you hit manifests that are not portable in some way. So just getting more clarity on how the index will morph itself, in the sense the nesting of existing things will happen or new things will go as nested. Those kind of definitions will give a little bit more clarity on the specification itself. That's what I wanted to just ask.
I'll take that one. I think 4 megs is quite big. I think that's what most registries are doing right now. And I would say it's probably best to tell people don't make enormous indexes or manifests. The problem with it is that if a client has to download 4 megabytes before it can give any feedback to the user, it's not a great UX. So keeping them a size that you can give a decent UX in terms of like response time and things like that, I think is the right thing to do there. the way I think Josh put up a proposal for how to link things together, although that kind of used weak references, if I remember correctly, using annotations. I'm not sure if it's the right way. Yeah, I would say having a hard limit and telling clients they can't go bigger than that is probably the right first approach.
Yeah, I think the 4 megs is enough, but also like just that everyone understands, like if you do have like more references, let's say that limit would be much smaller and you're running out of space, then you can still like group things together, right? Like there's this thing like cosine at the moment uses like a manifest that groups all the annotations together. Like it doesn't put, like in that case, like you wouldn't have the SPOM annotation and whatever, like provenance annotation or everything in the root manifest. You could group them together and then just link them with one reference from the root index. Like it's still like, I think for like a tool that's pulling in those values, they should follow up all the chains and to see like what are all the associated SPOMs. They shouldn't just like look at like what's in the root index and stop there.
Josh, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I have like 3 questions, so I'll just ask one of them. So this proposal calls out OCI artifacts at the very top. And there's also the predefined annotations, which has reference type. I'm assuming like most of putting this together was the nesting things in the index, but did you have thoughts around that type field? Like it says SBOM in the example, and how that relates to an OCI artifact? Because there's the media type inside the artifact, and like should that, should SPDX text/SPDX or like something like that be surfaced out instead? And then we rethink what OCI artifacts are, or that type is duplicated in OCI artifacts. So that's question number 1.
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I thought of that. To be honest, I don't know if this proposal goal was to be prospective about that. But yeah, what was one of my thought, like, should we copy the config media type pair? That would be a good way to define type. But I don't know if anyone a better solution.
And I don't think in our other proposals we even dived into that. I just like we had put that in proposal E, but didn't really talk about what SBOM means. But okay, well, I think that's something we need to figure out. The other question number 2 is putting small data in the annotations versus using a reference. Is that, I want to understand is the primary goal of that to support as many clients as possible who don't know how to go and get the references?
My understanding was that was an optimization so that if you had 1,000 signatures attached to something, you wouldn't have to go fetch 1,000 manifests and 1,000 blobs to get the, relatively short, 1K of data. Correct me if I'm wrong, actual people who proposed this, but that was my understanding for that.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. That dovetails into my question, which was going to be, how do we ensure that the data in the annotations is the same as the data in the manifest in the blob? And what clients are ever going to fetch that manifest to get that blob to check? And do we care if it's different? Like, could we just put some dumb placeholder in for the digest, like digest SHA-256 all zeros? And that says to clients, don't bother fetching this. It's not going to be there. Just read the annotations on it.
I'm
So-
confused. Where do we have the digest for the small data?
So in this example, in what's being shared right now, the first, all these annotations. Oh, this is annotations describing signatures on the ARM64 image, which is actually there.
Yeah.
Which is actually
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. I thought it was pointing to a manifest with some blobs with the same data, and it's not. So
Nope,
that
not
data,
like the
the
data field.
signature data is only in annotations.
Yeah.
In this descriptor pointing to that blob or that manifest. Okay. Thank you. This was helpful.
Thomas, you have your
yeah.
hand up?
Yeah, I just had a follow-up on that point that Brandon made about like when we discussed the platform unknown. Like, did you see any problems with using platform unknown to make sure that this object is never pulled by like any old client or anything like this? Well, it wouldn't be pulled also because there's another object for it that has the same platform, but just to make it sure, like, what were your thoughts on there?
It might fall in the category of adding another one of the hacks into the list to try to make this work with existing clients. So if it works, it works. It still feels like throwing hacks on top of hacks to me.
So the ordering of the, sorry, Nisha, you had a hand up. I didn't raise
No, you can go ahead.
No, so it'd be, so one thing I'm hearing is that ordering of the of the descriptors are important, right? Like you don't want clients to order the signature over the index or over the image itself. So that is clearly something that we should call out. Like if things are getting attached, do not attach it on the top, because otherwise you end up having the problem that you mentioned, which is the sorting would actually get affected in some way.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
defined
so
in
it's actually
OCI.
followed.
Whether clients actually do that is still to be determined, but that's defined in OCI today.
Ordering is already important, as far as I understand, because if you have duplicate platforms, it will match
Yeah.
the first one, right?
Yeah.
Or it should match the first.
In current implementation, ordering is important when you have the same platform in both descriptors. Like in other cases, it's in practice, it's not important.
Yeah, we are hoping that that's the way that's going to work. We define that and we kind of check when we add that to OCI. I don't think we've gotten far enough to verify it, but the use case we were thinking of was if you ever change like the way you store layers or something like that, and different clients might want to pull different kinds of layer schemas.
Nisha, go ahead.
Seems to me that the group is consolidating around trying to define these nested indexes better. Is it fair to say that that issue may also be reflected in the other proposals that we've submitted?
I mean, I think we're focusing on that here because nested indexes aren't well specified. They're not, the good news is they're not used much in practice. The bad news is there are probably a bunch of edge cases in this algorithm, which is not officially specified and just sort of organically grown. So it's sort of one of those things where like we should specify this anyway, because this could come up already, regardless of signatures or reference types or whatever. It's sort of a thing we found that is a problem out in the wild today. You could have a weird manifest that's deeply nested and matches multiple things. I think it's similar to the e-tags issue where like this is going to hit us specifically soon if we go some of these proposals, and it's just an issue in general in the spec.
Yeah, I would say that nested indexes, we didn't cover it in a lot of our other proposals because I don't think it was really included in a lot of the other proposals. We assumed all the indexes were flat, but at a higher level within OCI, yeah, we should covered there.
Josh, go ahead.
The third question that I had, and maybe we already talked about this, let me know, but just the scalability of this. I'm thinking about a scenario which is maybe not normal, but if I wanted to run some sort of vulnerability scan on an image that is fairly stable and attach that maybe every day, does that mean my index has 365 things in the list? And is that sort of use case not going to work?
I think it's either 365 items in the list, or even worse, 365 layered deep nested indexes, depending on whether you have access to update the original thing or you can only wrap it. I think in either case, that's sort of a pathologically bad behavior, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like with the other proposals, like it would be completely supported if we added pagination to the refers thing, API endpoint, and I'm just trying to understand if that would even be supported with this. If it's not, that's okay. I just want to know.
You have up to 4 megabytes, right? So you can add things onto it. So I think the thing is, in practice, you'll probably be updating the image anyway if you care about the CVE. So is it realistic to expect, for example, an image will be in production for a year and you'll keep scanning it and not change it? Like there's a bunch, I think it could be a problem, but we should also look at what would realistically happen.
Well, cat pictures, like, what if I'm just a weird person and I new cat picture every day? No, but I guess the reason I bring it up is like I had put together like proposal G last week, which is mostly nonsense, but I'm wondering if the capabilities of the index to support paging or something, I'm not sure how that would work because the digest would change, but I'm wondering if has anyone seen anything like that in OCI, like paging of indexes or anything like that?
I hadn't seen anything like that until your proposal. I don't know if that just means it's not practically needed.
Yeah, I'll post that here just for popcorn effect, but I don't think it will work. But I didn't see anything searching issues in the past.
Again, what you can do is you can create your own groups, either by like this attestation manifest, like Cosine does, or just by including new image indexes. So for example, like if you have 360 like those attestations, what you can do is you can create 6 manifests, and each one of them have 60 attestations inside there. And this way, like when you're doing a pull, like you maybe don't need like the whole 300 cat pictures. Maybe you only need like the 5 last ones. You could still like find like only pull the 5 last ones then. Like it's
got it. So you would have to strategically group the things.
Yeah, like if you want to do this pagination, then yeah, you would need to like basically split out those pagination points when you're updating the manifest. Like figure out that like, okay, this object is getting too big. Like it already has like 50 annotations inside, or sorry, attestations inside there. I'm not adding to this object. I'm creating a new object next to it. Like that's one way how we could do it.
The challenge then is from clients, how do they know which path to go down that multiply nested index to find the image to run or something else?
I think they sort of exhaustively have to get the whole tree of things. Like toward the algorithm that Tony was talking about, like discover all the things that might match your platform, find the thing that matches most closely, and use that. You don't get to only discover half the tree and decide you're close enough and stop.
Yeah. The other half of scalability that I think I saw mentioned last week on the OCI call was an individual annotation is capped by a lot of runtimes out there to 4 kilobytes. So you have to be careful that each individual annotation entry, the key plus the value length, doesn't exceed 4 kilobytes for something like containerd and not start dropping it and truncating it.
Is that specified in OCI at all? Should we specify it in OCIs just so that people have a
I don't think it
consistent-
is.
Yeah. I remember that coming up when we talked about specifying a possible maximum manifest size. I think we punted and now we're just receiving that punt on the other end.
All right, that's all the hands. Let's keep going through this.
Yeah, sorry.
I have a tag question. Maybe I didn't understand it. This proposal doesn't actually reduce the number of tags, does it? Because every time you push something to a repo, you have to push it by tag and then update the index.
You use the same tag, so it reduces it to 1 tag, unless you have immutable tags, which I guess is a case we can think of. But I mean, we could index those because by definition that, like, for example, you can't override a tag, so you could start with no index number, then add an index number or things like that, and that's no worse than the other solution.
Yeah, but you've also added this thing where you could use the digest in the tag to.
Yes, there's 2 ways of finding things, right? You can either have a well-known formula where you can compute addresses, or you have a thing where you can query for an address. This is proposing using well-known formulas. So if you know the digest of an object, you can query just for that tag and get the tag back. We could also say then, if we want to have immutable tags, you could say, the digest .1, .2, .3 or something like that. I think that's all.
Okay.
Sajay said in chat, I'm really hoping we don't hit the tag list API. I think in all of these cases we're talking about we don't have to. I think if you're interested in attachments for image SHA ABC, you can just get go see if there is a thing tagged :SHA 256 -ABC. You never have to list tags. And if Chris's thing about the .1, .2, .3, you don't have to list all the tags. You could just go see if there's a .1, and if there isn't, you can kind of assume there isn't a .2. I don't know if that is a safe assumption, but it's an assumption one could possibly make.
So that
I think we're all on the same page about not hitting the tag list API, and I think we can probably get away without it.
That would just change the UX issue from listing the tags to some other way of describing, some other way of searching for what you're looking for.
Yeah, but the tag list API is a more expensive API to serve, I think, for most registries, and especially because a lot of these proposals result in a proliferation of tags. The tag list API gets harder and harder to serve. And if the tag you're looking for is at the end of the list, you have to do a bunch of page requests to get to the end of the list. Whereas if you're just looking for, SHA-ABC, or maybe SHA-ABC.1, then that's like 2 requests, relatively easy to find.
And that's using the API for references, yeah?
No, that's using the regular, is there a manifest tagged with SHA-ABC?
Oh, I see.
And if that comes back 404,
direct
then there is
manifest
nothing attached.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You either get a 404 or a manifest back. That does open up the race condition talk then, if we want to get into that, which is when we have just one tag pointing to this, now we have the chance of race conditions between multiple clients trying to update the same index. We were going to get to this point eventually, so might as well start now.
I think.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, you go ahead.
I think we were about to both say, I think we should just say that registries should support e-tags, and registries that can't, we'll just have a race.
Yeah, and we should raise this again to the OCI. This is like, it's not only us who have this problem, right? It's like the multi-arch thing. There's like 15 different use cases already. Like this is something we should just say, people should fix this.
Yeah, I was actually surprised to find out, I found this out months ago, but like when Alpine is released on Docker Hub, it's not released as one manifest list all at once. It's released as a manifest list containing one image. And then as the second architecture comes out, the second one gets added. And as the third architecture comes out, the third one gets added. And that there's like a necessary race in that. Like if two architecture builds, all right, Tianan is here even to describe it. But like if two architecture builds finish at the same time, there's a race for that today in, you know, regular multi-arch images that we all know and love. So I don't know, Brandon, you seem to push back on this because you're worried about registries that don't support whose storage layer don't support e-tags, and that's a reasonable fear. I just don't know that there are that many of them left.
That was a question raised when we were trying to propose e-tags before. And I think we also, when we were talking about e-tags, said that we wanted to see some like distribution or another reference implementation of the distribution spec show that this could work. And so if we get some of those examples out there where this is working, that would be a good move forward there. I would want to know what clients should do when they see a registry. I don't know if they can tell if the registry isn't supporting e-tags. Can they tell? And if so, what should they do when the registry doesn't support e-tags and they're trying to do an update? Do we need to flesh out each of those scenarios?
You can tell if a registry supports e-tags pretty easily. In every response, it will include an e-tag response header or not. And if it doesn't, as far as like what should a client do in that case, I think a client should just make updates without the if not match header. Like there is no e-tag to send back to the registry, so it just shouldn't. And so the client just doesn't do anything. It just says maybe there will be a race.
I'm pretty sure I get an e-tag back from distribution a day. And I don't know if that means that it's verified the backend that distribution is using actually is consistent.
It might be that the tag one is only handled on the get method, but not on the put one. So that But yeah, like I think it's still like it's the best effort. Like it's if you get the e tag, you put the if match in there, and like if the server handles it or not, like that's like how good server you're picking.
So maybe we don't, one portion that I want to discuss is not adding it in the specification, but more like from a guidance and an open-ended discussion. So, and as just a brainstorming question, what I'm hoping is that if I were to write a client tool that were attaching SBOMs, it would always attach it to, let's say, an SBOM index or something like that, that is just an index of an SBOM. And that has all the list of SBOMs. And say, for example, if we are doing scanning, we have a scan index and we attach it to that. And in the main manifest entry for the tag, there's only one pointer. So it's kind of grouped by artifact type or like some type. Whereas hoisted types like signatures that you want to access on an optimized basis can be in the main index as well. Does that seem reasonable? Like, because that keeps the fact that client tools that work with certain types only need to touch one specific descriptor and not have to modify every other portion of the main manifest.
Still have to update. They still have to go up, because as soon as you modify that SBOM specific index, now you have to go back up to your top level index and update the descriptor there.
Right. It is two puts in some way, but it's still kind of like at least gives a way in which if I'm not interested in SBOM, I don't walk that train, or do you have to kind of like make every client know about how the entire manifest needs to be updated? Again, this is an open discussion, so there's no I don't think there's a portion of specification, but what do we take away when we write client tooling is what I was hoping to ask.
I think the OCI's role is not to define what is stored at that level of detail. I think it's just, it provides the building blocks to build the things. I think clients should not assume that everything, like for example, that there's only SBOMs in there, because there'll be images, there'll be, there's no guarantee that other clients haven't put up data. As the spec is written today, there's no guarantee that if you pull down a manifest list, it's only images, right? It could be, I'll pick on Toner, so it could be build cache, it could be something else, like, and that's just how the spec is structured. It's that's just how it is.
Right. And so that's why it's not a question of the specification itself. It's more like if you come and ask the OCI team, how do you do this? What would be at least a verbal guidance, or how would you help them out? Right. I can clearly say that it's not in the specification, so go away. Or I could say I can help you, and this is what we think is the right approach. So it's more like, what would be the approach for somebody who wants to attach the scan results? What do we tell them?
I think it's more you come and say, I have scan results, this is how I think I'm going to attach them. The OCI will say that looks like it fits the spec or not. I don't think that they will say like, this is the way of attaching scan results, or this is the way of attaching SBOM. This group is, I think, from what I understood, just about a generic attaching of things. The what things is a separate conversation, I think, and I'm not sure the OCI will. I don't know. I'm not part of it, but I don't think it's their area. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think what Sajay is saying is more about the grouping aspect, less about the specific type. Is that, yeah?
Right. Is if we did that, would it break the specification in any way? Right.
I don't think it's going to break the specification, and you can make it easily searchable because your top level index would say this is the SBOM index. If you're looking for an SBOM, go down this path. It's just if we're trying to eliminate those race conditions and you go down and update the SBOM index, you still have to come back up and update the top level index. And so you're still racing on that top level index, in addition to the SBOM index if someone updates a second SBOM.
Yeah, I think Tony's example about having 360 manifests in the manifest list and sharding it into 6 bunches of 60 is sort of the same. If you got to, it doesn't have to be because there are too many. It can be because you just want to file them in this way, and you put your SBOMs in the first one and your attestations in the second one and whatever. The problem is when you assign semantics to those buckets and say, if you're looking for an SBOM, only look in the first one, or only look in the one named .SBOM or something, because some other client who isn't you, a badly behaved client that I probably wrote, probably put the SBOM in the last one. And so you can shard and move and rebalance however you want. I think we probably shouldn't and can't specify that, but so you definitely can rebalance however you feel like. It just can't be used as an optimization to filter out SBOMs.
All right, so that actually hits exactly the question that I was trying to ask, which is sharding would change depending on clients, and ordering would also change depending on one client updating the index in some way, right?
I think we can specify that order matters, because order is a much easier thing to semantically describe. Like, we all understand what order means, but we don't understand what an SBOM means. I think we can say when sharding, the original order has to be preserved somehow. I also realize we're at time now, so I'm sorry if you want to. If you had more to talk about, I'm happy to stick around.
Yeah, I just wanted to last thing. So we opened an issue to kind of capture these. We have the notes, but if someone has like a good thing to write about one of these points, please put it in a comment there and we can pick up next week.
I dumped a bunch. Others should dump more on there. Go for it.
Cool.
So it seems to me that folks are okay with working on this nested index thing. Did I get that right?
I mean, I'm certainly interested in talking about it. I don't know if I have personally come to peace with it, but I think understanding potential problems with it in practical usage is a useful thing, whether or not we proceed down this path. And I think we're
Yeah.
coming up with a bunch of stuff we need to talk about in OCI, like broadly in OCI anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, at least personally, I started from the position that you can't touch this, like this is verboten. But if the group is open to, enhancing the index, then that means that there's potential for more proposals.
Don't threaten me with a good time, Nisha. More proposals is exactly what I want.
Oh boy. I'm just bringing that up because that was a thing that in the previous conversations was like, no, don't touch that. But now seems like we've come to a place where we're like,
the purpose of the proposals is not, all right, here's proposal F, let's roll with it, right? It's, you're going to throw it up. We'll have these conversations. I would hope that we maybe figure some of these out, have a proposal G. Maybe it's based on, primarily on proposal F if we agree on it, but yeah, don't look at these as like we're going to pick one. I think that's at least the way I've been thinking about it.
well, I mean, I think we've changed. I know we're over time. Maybe I'll pick this up next meeting, but I feel like we've kind of changed the requirements.
I don't know that we changed the requirements. I think we might have expanded the things we think are possible.
That's a better wording for that. We've expanded some possibilities.
I think what we want to produce is still roughly the same, but if folks from Docker are interested in making sure that nested indexes are handled correctly, then that opens that up for a lot of us, which we didn't have before. But yeah, I also have to drop. This was a really good meeting, everyone. Nice work. High five. Best meeting of the week so far.
Thanks all.
See ya.